and I'm just going to go for this. This is like painful.
Hey, that's one way to do it. Welcome to the Midweek Moment. On this episode, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Pastor Mike, and we're going to talk about how to share your God story. Now, what's great about a God story is that we all have a God story, and you are the authority on your God story. But sometimes it can be intimidating, so that's why we have Pastor Mike here to give us some tips and just some practical ways we can share our God story. So welcome, Pastor Mike.
Thank you. It's great to be here. It's great to be on the midweek moment.
Yeah.
In the flesh.
In the flesh, in the person. But we're going to have this conversation in a fun way, since it is the Christmas season and we have Will Ferrell in the background. We are going to have a conversation over gingerbread houses. We're going to build gingerbread houses. So.
Yes, which I've never built one, so I'm sure mine will show that.
But your grandkids are going to love you all the more.
Yes.
So we have an assortment of candy in front of us, and this is the adhesive, the glue, the icing, so we can get going. But I want to throw you a question to get us started.
Okay.
So you share your God story so naturally. I've seen you do this so many times. Mm-hmm. What are some of the ways that you share your God story? How do you segue into those faith conversations?
Well, I do it in a lot of different ways. First of all, I think this is working. Anyway, first of all, as a baby Christian, I didn't become a Christian until I was an adult, and no one ever shared their faith with me. So that was really alarming once I discovered who Christ was and became a Christ follower. And I really became convinced very early on, both biblically and personally, that was jacked up, basically.
Yeah.
Like for nobody to ever invite me to church, nobody to ever share their faith with me. I never saw one church do anything for its city outside of its walls. So I didn't even know what the churches were like. I didn't even know what they did in there or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just became very, very convinced of it because I realized I was surrounded by people like me. There was nobody that I knew that was a Christ follower, so I just started sharing my faith. And and I began praying about it a lot as a baby Christian. I realized that I needed God's help, and I wanted His kind of fire in my belly, if I could put it.
Yeah.
And so even today, even after all these years, how many years? So I got saved in 73 when I was in Okinawa in the Army. So to today, whatever that is, 47 years or something?
It's a long time.
It's a long time. But, I pray about it pretty much every day. Even this morning I prayed, Lord, help me share my faith with somebody today. And so I walk in this sort of awareness, this sort of spiritual awareness, if you will, of opportunities. Because God's giving all of us opportunities all the time. We just don't see them.
Yeah. So first step is just an awareness.
Awareness and conviction, really.
Yeah.
It's a biblical thing.
Yeah.
If we're going to follow Jesus, if we call ourselves that, and we don't share our faith openly and, constantly really, then we're missing on a whole big. Actually, it's fun. It's part of the thing that gives me more, energy, or it keeps me spiritual and tuned up better than anything else.
Awesome. So awareness, constantly praying, asking God for who you want me to have a conversation with. Mm-hmm. Funny story is, I saw you do this, and you've done this multiple times, but this story in particular really stood out to me. We were grabbing a sandwich at one of the local sandwich places, and we were standing in line, waiting to order our sandwich. And there was this guy behind us who walked in the store, and you turned around, and you looked at him, and you said, "Hey, do you go to New Break Church?" And I was like, what is going on here? There's no way Pastor Mike knows this guy, because this guy is he's like deer in the headlights. You caught him off guard. But in that moment, it just dawned on me, no, this is who Pastor Mike is.
Yeah.
This is not a show or it's just who you are. You're constantly having God conversations with people.
Well, and that's one simple little thing that you can do. You can say, obviously you're not going to lie like this, like that, but you're gonna say something like, especially if they look in any way familiar, you can say, "Gosh, you look so familiar. Have you ever been to New Break Church?" And then you open this conversation about church. No, I don't go to church. Oh, really? How come? Have you ever gone or whatever? Another thing that I do all the time is I ask people what they did over the weekend. because everybody talks about that all the time. And so I go into the store on Monday or whatever over at Olive Tree or some store that I go to. And that's another thing. I often go to the same places a lot because it builds a repertoire or just a common experience with them.
Yeah.
And I just ask them how their weekend went, and then they're going to ask me how mine went, and I tell them, did a bunch of stuff, and I was at church on Sunday because I'm a pastor, and so then I kind of break it into that, and it's really listening.
Yeah.
It's really listening and loving. Like if you listen and you love people, then you're gonna witness all the time.
Right. So when you're listening, what are you listening for?
Well, I'm listening for pain. I'm listening for blessing. I'm listening for need. So you can ask them questions like, how's it going? Do you have kids? Oh yeah, I have 3. So right there that they're in crisis. Okay. Yeah. Especially if their kids are little. Like they say, oh yeah, I have 3.
Are you saying I'm in crisis? No, just kidding.
Well, it's just it is the thing of life, right? I mean, anybody with littles, my son, he has the, and I'm just gonna go for this. This is like painful.
Hey, that's one way to do it. Yeah.
My son has the twin 4-year-olds and a 6-year-old, and it's COVID, so he's in crisis, right?
Yeah.
So, but everybody's like that.
Good, that's helpful. So, if, sharing your God story, it doesn't have to be intimidating. It doesn't have to be awkward.
No.
But it could get awkward if you don't do it the right way.
Yes.
We've seen it gone wrong.
Yes.
Wonky and sideways. So just from your experience, can you just share with some of our listeners, what are some of the do's and don'ts of sharing your God story?
Well, you don't beat them up with the Bible, obviously.
Yeah, no one likes
You don't
that.
go after their kind of, I don't know, whatever their hot buttons might be, if you will. You share your experience. Because like you said earlier, you're the authority of your own story. Nobody's going to ever argue about your story. So you can share like answers to prayer. You can share pain that you're going through. That's a big one because, I've been through all my surgeries and stuff. So people want to hear how I navigate it. And they want to hear, ultimately, really, a lot of them want to hear what do I do with God? Like, where's God when it hurts, kind of Phil Yancey's book, right? Because they want to know, because they've had parents die or whatever, and they want to know, how do I scale that with a God who's omniscient and omnipotent and could heal everybody but chooses not to? How do I do that? And especially because I'm a pastor, I think, they think it's weird, but they think the more, how should I say it? They think the holier you are, whatever they perceive that to be, the holier you are, the more God should heal you, which is really a jacked up theology.
Right.
But that's very common in our culture.
Right. And you always want to bring hope into the conversation.
Oh, yeah.
The difference that God has made. And
oh, yeah.
No, that's awesome.
These little peppermint things are cool.
Any other don'ts that you would?
Well, you don't, monitor how much you're talking. Pay attention to how much you're talking and how much they're talking. Ask better questions that get them talking.
Yep.
Try and then listen really well. And then you're kind of always talking about their story. And then you're matching it with your story. And pretty much anything they're going through, if you listen well, you've gone through the same thing.
Earlier, you talked, just in our conversation, you talked about the importance of creating missional space. Can you just unpack that a little bit more?
Yeah, well, everywhere you go is missional space, for one thing.
That's good.
Certain spaces are better, like bars and restaurants, coffee shops. Those are natural watering holes, right? If you looked at Jesus' life, he was always doing that. That's why they called him a drunk and a partier, right?
Yep.
So parties are low-hanging fruit.
Yep.
The goal of everybody should be get invited to your friends' parties, because that's just easy.
Right.
You're just being friendly, you're being nice, you're meeting people. What do you do for work? What's your life like? And you just start sharing.
Yeah.
And that's, you can totally invite them to church in 2 seconds. That's what's so striking to me, that I grew up in Camarillo, California, all my life. No one ever invited me to church.
Wow.
Like my friends who were kids didn't invite me to church.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. That's why having kids and, using the friendships of your children to help share your God story with the kids and teaching your kids to do it and be inviters to church and kids' church and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the parents will go.
That's so good. And especially in this season, Christmas season, it's what a great time to invite people to church.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to share our God story, just a simple invitation. Would you come with me? Would you sit with me? Would you do dinner with me after church? I'm buying. Those are just easy ways to bridge and share our God story. So one last question, making this a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're in a season of COVID, and there are
Right.
challenges in and of itself. How do we make it a lifestyle and not let COVID perhaps even detract us from becoming people who are constantly sharing God's story?
Well, it depends on, obviously it depends on the state of shutdown, right? Like now, now it's a little harder to share our God stories because of the whole COVID thing, right? But like my neighbors, I'm trying to get better and better at sharing my faith with my neighbors. And so I, like for example, after I'm done here, I thought of this yesterday, I think. I'm going to go because I was in Home Depot, I'm going to go get a bunch of poinsettias, like 6 of them. And I'm going to put a little card from Teresa and Mike on the poinsettias, and I'm going to go put them on all my neighbors across the street and my neighbors on my side, just for a Christmas present, right? And they're like $6 or something, and they're big at Home Depot. Anyway, so those kinds of things, people are still out and about, and so, even simple little things like saying hi to people through the masks. I don't know if you've noticed, but people have become less friendly or something in the masks.
Right.
And so, like, you say hi when you go by them, and they're like, hi. They're almost shocked that you said something, So it's God opportunities.
Yeah.
You never know what He's going to do with them. Mm-hmm. And if you're always talking about your God story with everybody you meet, it's just a natural way of life. It's not supposed to be something we do once a month or something.
Yeah. Well, I hope that challenged you and encouraged you to share your God story a little bit more. And even in a season like COVID like this, we have phenomenal online tools and YouTube and devotionals and videos and online services that are just simply tools that God has placed in our hands to share our God story. So thank you so much for that insight. Before we leave, what's one challenge that you would give to our viewers just in this season relative to how they can share their God story?
Well, certainly online is powerful, right? You can share stuff online, not weird nerdy stuff, okay, but cool stuff on your Facebook and Instagrams and stuff like that shares your faith, okay, and you can just be creative with that. But the other thing I would challenge you to do is begin praying. You probably have a prayer list, okay? Put on the top of that prayer list, pray for an opportunity to share my God story today. Put that at the top, and I guarantee you, then all you have to do is pay attention. Because God will open things up.
That's good. That's good. Well, I hope that encouraged you. Thank you, Pastor Mike.
Wait.
Yep. How'd you do?
Look at it.
Oh, nice.
Not bad.
Nice. Yeah, I just got a garland up.
Oh, man,
I was
nice.
so distracted by your amazing Jedi wisdom.
You're so good at
Well,
that.
I'll finish this afterwards. I learned a thing or two from having little kids. But anyways, hey, hope you guys were encouraged. If you found this content to be helpful, please smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to our channel so that you get more content like this. But it was great having you on the show, Pastor Mike. And from our family to yours, from New Break to you guys, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you soon.